Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Big thank you as well today for joining us as well. So today we're going to be speaking through making payroll year end easy and also some practical tips for SMBs in 2026. My name is Bradley. I'm delighted to guide you through today's session. Whether you're a business owner, HR manager, or even a finance professional, we've tailored this webinar to help you master your payroll year end with confidence. I'm joined today by Lindsay Simpson, a payroll expert with 19 years of experience helping SMBs like yourselves navigate the complexities of managing payroll. So we're going to share some actionable tips and insights to make this process smoother for yourselves and your business. So a quick agenda. So what we're going to cover today, so payroll year-end requirements and common challenges that companies like yourselves face. Also best practice for ensuring accuracy and compliance, including updates for the 2026 tax year, and also a live demonstration of how PayCircle can simplify your year-end tasks. We'll also wrap up with a Q&A session as well to address any questions that you might have. So please feel free to use the chat that you can see and submit them anytime via the chat box. Okay, so just to kind of kick things off, if anyone could let us know kind of where they're joining us from, that would be fantastic. I assume there'll be quite a few people from the UK, but yeah, let's move on. So I'm sure we can all agree, end of year is a hectic time for payroll teams, and getting it right is absolutely essential. So let's talk about why it's important to get this right and some of the common challenges as well. So some of the common challenges that SMBs face include kind of manual processes. This usually involves multiple systems, kind of duplication of data, which can eat up hours or even days of your time and obviously increase the errors. Non-compliance with HMRC guidelines, which can then lead to penalties. And obviously, I think we can all agree that HMRC aren't the easiest to work with, and nobody would want them on their backs either. Also, tight deadlines, which will add additional stress to an already hectic period. Mistakes as well in payroll can result in costly fines, unhappy employees, and even harm your company's reputation. So obviously, we're here to help you get it right. So now that we've outlined some of the challenges, let's dive into the practical steps to overcome them. So I'd like to hand over to our payroll expert with 19 years of experience, Lindsay Simpson.
Thanks, Bradley, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So as we know, year-end steps can vary between payroll systems, different payroll software, and some of the instructions that we've seen are quite lengthy. So what we've tried to do is summarize the main points for general year-end processing. So we have a nice kind of checklist here that I'll just quickly run through. The first thing we would do is recommend to check if you have a week 53 applicable for the current tax year. So week 53 occurs when there are 53 weekly pay days in a tax year instead of the usual 52. This can also be shown as week 54 for fortnightly pay periods and week 56 for the 4 weekly pay periods. It normally happens if the payday falls on the 4th or the 5th of April on a Thursday or a Friday. This year, of course, that falls over a weekend, so we're not expecting a week 53, but every payroll is unique, so it's important to double check. And if you do have a week 53, it's important to follow HMRC's guidance on handling the week 53 payments to ensure compliance and avoid any issues with underpaid tax or overpaid tax. The next thing would be reviewing your payroll records, so ensuring that all employee data is up to date for the current tax year. So that would include any new starters, any leavers, and of course any tax code uplifts that are effective within the current tax year. So not the new ones coming, but the current tax year. The next step would be to process the last pay period and submit your final FPS and EPS to HMRC. So processing the final pay period, checking your reports, closing the period, and getting ready for year end. This would include submitting your final FPS and EPS submissions. So if you have more than one payroll, you might need to decide which one is your final, and letting HMRC know that you're finished with the current tax year, which helps them to reconcile their accounts. Ensuring all RTI submissions are correct and submitted on time helps to avoid those penalties that Bradley spoke about earlier. The next step is the update to your payroll software. So you need to ensure it's updated for the new tax year, which starts on the 6th of April. Depending which software you're using, this may be automated for you, but if you have a local install, you may need to download and install updates with your IT department. So it's important to make sure you have the right files from your payroll provider. It's also important to check that the new parameters are present ready for the new tax year. So some software will actually show this in the front end and some won't. It will be in the back end, but they'll give you updates to say that they are ready for the new tax year. Then, of course, we have processing the year end. So the year end routine, bringing the data into period 1 of the new tax year. And that may include a holiday year end if you have a holiday that starts and stops at the same time as the tax year. After your year end, you'll want to prepare and distribute your P60s. So they need to be deployed to all employees by the 31st of May. And these forms summarise their total pay and deductions for the year. So it's really important that they have that information. And of course, before you start your new tax year, you'll need to verify new tax code notices from HMRC and apply them to the relevant employees. In some years, we have had a tax code uplift, which goes across most employees, but this year the personal allowance has remained the same, so there's no uplift in general. You just need to have a look and see if you've got any new tax codes from HMRC. And of course, aside from that, you may also have student loan start and stop notices. The next step would be to get to know the latest legislative requirements, so reviewing employee data, reviewing internal processes, and we'll go through some of those new legislation updates later on in this session. And finally, goes into the new tax year all the way up to July. If you have expenses and benefits on a P11D or the P11DB, you need to submit those by the 6th of July. If you're payrolling your benefits, you'll obviously be processing those month to month or week to week, but you may still need to send your P11DB, which contains the Class 1A NICs due to HMRC. So hopefully that helps with a kind of general overview of how the year-end tasks run, and that this can help you manage your year-end tasks effectively. Now we have a demonstration from Andrea to show us how PayCircle makes this process even easier. Just note that the dates in the demo do refer to last year, but the process is the same, and it's going to show you how simple year-end can be within PayCircle.
In this demonstration, I'm going to go through the year-end process for PayCircle. The good news is that PayCircle makes this really easy for you. So here I'm looking at my March or month 12 payroll. All the changes that I needed to make for this payroll run have been made. So I'm at the stage where I'm ready to calculate my payroll in order to check it and then run it. Before I do that, I'll just check a setting for my team's P60s. Now, PayCircle will automatically produce your P60s as part of the run payroll process. So there isn't anything that you need to do in order to produce your P60s, apart from check the date that you'd like PayCircle to issue them. So for the settings area for the company, I'm just going to go into payroll settings, and I can either set a specific date that I'd like PayCircle to make them available, or as I'm doing here, just releasing them at the same time as the payslip for the last period of the tax year. So I'll save that down, and once that's done, I'm going to go back into my payroll and run it in the normal way. So I'll calculate it, and this will give me obviously all of my draft reports that will allow me to check my payroll to make sure that I'm happy with everything before I run it. Obviously here you have the ability to download all the draft reports as well as read them on screen. You can also download the draft payslips, and of course, if anything isn't right, you can undo the calculation, make your adjustments and redo it. So this is exactly the same as any other pay period. Once you're happy with your pay run, you can run the payroll, again, exactly the same as normal here, and some final warnings that we'll just go through and check. So once we've set the payroll to run, PayCircle will run our period end and our year end activities in the background. So this includes the submissions to the revenue, so your RTI submissions to HMRC. It will also produce your payslips and your P45s, and in this case your P60s as well, and they'll be released as per the settings that you've applied to your company. The tax codes will automatically be updated, and any week one, month one indicators will be removed. Statutory bandings and thresholds are also automatically uplifted, as well as your thresholds for tax NICs and student loans. Your year-to-dates and pension year-to-dates will be closed down. Your auto-enrollment thresholds will be updated. The employment allowance will be updated as per the company settings, and your new tax year and new pay period will then be opened. And all that happens in the background, so there's nothing that you need to do with any of this. Once that's all done, you can, of course, go into the history of the payroll and view the final reports. And this will additionally include your P60s. P60s are also visible from the documents area of the employee record, which you can see within here. And they'll also be available to the employees via their portal as well, so they can view and download them themselves if they need to. And finally, as with any other pay period, you can roll back and make any corrections if you need to by accessing the history area for your payroll and selecting rollback. So that's it. That's our payroll year-end process complete.
Okay, apologies for the mix-up there. You saw a little snippet from a different video from a previous webinar before the year end, but hopefully you were able to watch the year end video there. As you can see, it's so quick. It certainly simplifies the year end process compared to other software that has these lengthy checklists. So yeah, hopefully you can see how quick that was. Following the year end, so this is obviously the process for the year end where we run everything and finishes everything off for this current tax year. Following that, we have some new legislation items to be aware of. So let's give those a review now. So I'm going to start with the easy ones. Student Loan Plan 5. So we have a new Student Loan Plan 5. Repayments will commence from the 6th of April, with borrowers repaying 9% of their income above $25,000. So you want to look out for your student loan start and stop notices for your employees. This will be a new one that is expecting to come in. It's also worth noting that Plan 5 will be the new default. So if you're unsure which plan to use, this will be the one that you use because it has the lowest repayment threshold. So obviously they'll start paying that back, and if they're on the wrong one, you can move them to that later on. But HMRC obviously wants to gain as much money back as they can. The next update is statutory bereavement pay for Northern Ireland. So this legislation covers employees who are gainfully employed in Northern Ireland only. It's an extension of the current bereavement pay legislation to cover pregnancy loss up to 24 weeks and for payment to become a day one right. There's also a new workplace postcode that you have to fill in so that HMRC can check the eligibility of those employees. So you need to check that those employees do work in Northern Ireland, and then obviously it's under the particular circumstances that this will arise. And your payroll system should be able to deal with that for you. The next one is probably the biggest change that we've seen for a while for statutory sick pay changes. So I'll run through the high-level updates for this, but if we want more detail, we will be releasing that later on, and you may also want to view other organisations such as CIPP. So the main changes here are we have the 3 waiting days are being removed, and that means that payment starts from day one. The PIW, or period of sickness, no longer needs to be 4 days or more. So again, SSP will be payable from day one of sickness. This does mean that if an employee is only off sick for 1 day, they will receive statutory sick pay. And it's to help support employees when they're sick and help prevent them feeling that they need to continue working through their sickness. The lower earnings limit, or the LEL threshold, has also been removed, meaning that lower earners are also now due to be paid SSP. Alongside this, they have introduced a new pay rate of 80% of average weekly earnings, or the standard rate, which will be £123.25, whichever is lower. This will mean that employees earning below £154.05 per week will receive 80% of their pay rather than the standard rate. So that all sounds simple enough, but there are some transitional rules for periods of sick pay that cross the tax year, so from the 2025-26 tax year into the 26-27. And this is to help protect employees from receiving less than expected. This can go into quite a bit of some detail, so we won't cover all the scenarios in this session, but keep an eye out for our release notes and articles that will appear in our help centre leading up to the new tax year. If you are a member of CIPP, they also ran a great SSP webinar recently and will be uploading it to their website soon. So if you have access, I would recommend watching that. But really, what you need to do is keep an eye out for sicknesses that span that tax year and make sure the correct rules are being applied. What should happen is that your payroll software should do this for you. So it should pick up those transitional period rules and it should apply it to those employees with the sick pay. For customers on PayCircle, if you have any pre-existing long-term sickness or parental records as well that cross over into the new tax year, we did release an update on the 14th of February, which recalculates the statutory payment due from the 6th of April using the new rates. So they will be ready to pay from April. So that's been updated if those records already exist, and any new ones will obviously use the new rates going forward. It is important to check your records following this just to make sure they're producing the figures that you would expect. And last but not least, we have a slight update on the payrolling benefits. So many of you will be aware that HMRC are going to be bringing payrolling benefits in as mandatory, but just to make it clear that that isn't until 2027. So for the 2026-27 tax year starting from April, payrolling benefits will continue to be voluntary. They're looking to make it mandatory from April 27, but there are ongoing discussions with HMRC regarding the current specification that they have provided. So we don't have all the details yet, and we won't be developing anything until that has been confirmed and clarified, in case they make changes that really change the way it would be designed. Depending on the software you're using for the April 26 tax year, you may need to continue using P11Ds if they don't offer payrolling benefits, or some products only offer payrolling benefits. So it's worth checking with your payroll provider to see which options are available. And that's really important because if you want to payroll your benefits, you need to register with HMRC before the start of the tax year, and you can't change that mid-year. For those using PayCircle, it offers payrolling benefits functionality only, and it doesn't cover P11Ds. So make sure you're registered to payroll your benefits for the new tax year. So those are the main changes to be aware of for the new tax year. We have a payroll year-end checklist to download. So let me just move on to there. As you see, we have a QR code here. You can scan that and you can download the checklist. This will also be sent out after the webinar. So if we leave that up there for a moment, let's check in with Bradley. Do we have any questions that have come through for the chat? If you have any questions and you haven't entered them yet, feel free to enter them now and we will pick them up.
Perfect. Thank you, Lindsay. Some really insightful tips there. I can see a couple of questions that have come in. So we have, does PayCircle automatically update tax codes and legislative changes, or do users need to make manual adjustments?
Yes, so the tax codes issued by HMRC are automatically applied to your employee records. You don't have to do anything with that. And likewise, any legislative changes will be automatically updated for you within PayCircle. So the year-end updates, as you saw from the demonstration, they're automatically applied for you, and all of the new parameters for the new year will be there and ready from April. If there are any changes to that, we would obviously let you know, but we're all on track and it will be there from April for you.
Perfect. And then we have another one from Kiran Reddy. Can we download all the P60s before running the last pay run just to double check the data on the P60s?
That's a really good question. I think we might need to take that one away just to double check what is available within PayCircle. If you're on a different system, different systems do offer different items. So some software will be able to do that and some won't, but we'll take that question away for PayCircle specifically.
Perfect. And then we have another question saying, we're currently using Access PeopleHR. Does PayCircle now fully integrate?
So with the integration, there's a lot of data that does integrate. It depends what you mean by fully. So we have employee data that goes across, starters, leavers, and we also have salary that goes across as well. I think we are working on items in the roadmap such as absence. So that's on our roadmap for future development to integrate that. And what we're also doing at the moment is we are actually working on enhancements to the area to make it easier to see the information that's flowing between two systems.
Perfect. We have another one from Joe Hillman. Does PayCircle automatically submit the P11DB, or is this submitted manually?
That's another really good question. I think I will take that one away because personally I'm not so familiar with that area of the system. So let's take that away and we can come back to you. Thank you.
Perfect. I think I've answered all of the ones that are in the chat. If I have missed any, please do feel free to put it in again.
Okay, I'll have a check as well. Okay, there is one here about how does PayCircle support the submission of the P11D reports for non-payroll benefits. So PayCircle doesn't have the functionality for P11D reports, so those reports that you need to give to your employees. So if you have benefits that are going through P11Ds, we would normally recommend like a third-party service or however you would normally manage that. So it probably depends on the particular situation. So obviously, if you have questions like that, you can use the chat in PayCircle itself, or of course, you can speak to our support department for some more information.
Perfect. We have one from Ali Allen. Do you run webinars throughout the year? If so, how can we see what is available?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think we do run some webinars during the year. I think they would be available on our help center, but I think we'll take that away and make that clear so we can share that with everybody.
And then another question, are P60s regenerated if you roll back the payroll?
So if you roll back into a previous tax year and then you go forward again, you wouldn't want to regenerate them because you've probably made changes. So yeah, I would go through that process of when you go through the year end, it will regenerate because it would need to update any changes that you've made.
Perfect. I think that is all the live questions we have in the chat at the moment. If you have any more, we do have a couple of minutes left. If you want to ping those in the chat, we can get those answered for you as well. There's one I can see. If an employee only works 1 day a week and they fall sick, would they receive 1 day of SSP at the daily rate or the weekly rate?
Okay, that's a really good question. And that actually came up in the CIPP webinar as well. So if an employee only works 1 day a week, then they only have one qualifying day a week. And how SSP is calculated is that would be their weekly rate. So they would get a week of SSP. It wouldn't be split into the dailies unless they work multiple days for that week. So yeah, they would get the weekly rate for that one.
Perfect. Does PayCircle automatically update tax codes and legislative changes, or do users need to make manual adjustments?
Yes, so I think that might be one that we answered earlier. So yes, it's all automated. The system will go and check with HMRC what notices need to be downloaded, and then it will update those for you. It's always worth double checking. Obviously, if your employee comes to you and says they've had a new tax code, double check that that has been applied or that one is due to be applied, and you can do it manually as well if you want to.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I think that's all the questions we have in the chat. If we missed your question, please let us know. We'll follow up with you directly after the session as well. But yeah, just wanted to thank everyone for joining. I think we had about 117 people in here, which is great to see. Obviously, a lot of people putting where they're from in the chat as well. So yeah, thanks for spending the time with us today. Obviously, we're here to support you, so don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions at all relating to year end. And yeah, have a wonderful day. And yeah, wishing you all a successful year end.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Cheers. Thank you.